Jack is a great guy. He's written a fantastic book. Everybody's talking about it. Go get it. And he's been my friend right from the beginning of this whole beautiful event. And we're going to turn it around and make our country great again. Amen.
And we're still trying to get a lot of answers to a ton of questions. But the one thing is clear, you are dealing with a person who's trans, that was transitioning. Are you going to be examining at all some of the drugs that are used in order to make that transition happening, to see if it plays a role? Because we also know there was a trans shooter in the Tennessee situation.
Yeah, we are doing those kind of studies now at NIH. We're launching studies on the potential contribution of some of the SSRI drugs and some of the other psychiatric drugs that might be contributing to violence. You know, many of them on there have black box warnings that warn of suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. So we can't exclude those as a culprit, and those are the kind of studies that we're doing.
All right, folks, Jack Posobiec back live, Human Events Daily. That's absolutely massive there. So RFK Jr., our health director, our health secretary, I should say, is now announcing an investigation into SSRIs and these hormone replacement drugs and their effect on mass shooters, their effect on aggression and violence. Joshua, it's taken us so long to come as a country to simply call this stuff what it is. It is a mental illness. There's some level of social contagion that goes on here, but it certainly plays into paranoia. And obviously, we are in a situation where we have lunatics running free on very, very powerful psychiatric medication. But then also, they can, I said this on Timcast last night, they can just walk, when you walk up to go and purchase a firearm, you are required to ask about and write down whether or not you're taking any illegal narcotics. Why aren't you asked on that form to affirm, again, under penalty of law, that you are not taking any of these psychotropic or psychiatric drugs?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because of the risk profile, and at this point, it's known. It could very well be one of the reasons why there isn't that same skepticism towards the use of all these drugs, is very simply because so many Americans are on them. So many Americans are using them. Depending on what survey you look at, anywhere between 30 and 50% of women over a certain age in the United States are using these drugs. And it also could be that those responsible for the background check situation don't want to get in trouble for gender-based or sex-based profiling of individuals, and that there would be a sizable population who would otherwise not be able to exercise their Second Amendment rights because they are on a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And of course, SSRIs together with alcoholic beverages is an absolute no-no. Absolute no-no. It's a very rough situation that I think there are both
We already know this,
spiritual
but
and
it's
chemical components.
absolutely. And how many times are you going to watch a show and you get these ad pops with joy-filled families and everybody's so happy, and then suddenly, and boom, you get hit with the big pharma side effects, and it's like, suicidal thoughts, homicidal tendencies, and everybody's walking around happy. It's a joke. The way we do this in this country is a joke. And I'm going to say it right now. I've said it again so many times. RFK Jr. should move to ban pharmaceutical ads from cable news. You need to ban this. Get rid of them. Get them out. I do not care the effect that it has on those cable news networks. I care about the effect that those drugs are having on my country.
That's a father's heart for his country, Jack, what we're hearing right there. Those people who are maybe a little bit more, let's say, libertarian minded, what we would like our libertarian friends to come to understand is we live in a society. There is no such thing as what I do in the privacy of my own home or bedroom doesn't affect you. Yeah, it does, because how you do anything is how you do everything. Who you are in private is who you are in public. That's why scandals that wreck a politician's personal life affects their job, and they either are fired, resigned, or they are otherwise ousted, because we recognize this. And so what drugs you take, what you use, what you do, what sort of bizarre or detrimental practices you engage in with yourself, yeah, that certainly affects all of us. And then it said, well, those people who participate in the transvestite lifestyle or pray to demons or take SSRIs, well, they're not hurting anyone, right? And that excuse is valid up until the martyrdom of children occurs. How about we examine every single domino in the chain that occurred prior to the pulling of the trigger? And so this may be a little offensive to our libertarian bros and sisters, but it is a national conversation that Jack has started, and we need to keep it going.
Look, it's very simple, and I'm seeing other things as well, because we get to the point now in our country where we're making decisions, and we are and by the way, where we're getting away from these sort of like formalistic procedural arguments. Well, you can't say that because it violates the principle. Stop, right? Stop. What is happening in our country right now? We are seeing cultural drift, we're seeing cultural decay, we're seeing degeneracy, we're certainly seeing sexual degeneracy celebrated, not just enabled, but celebrated, pushed on children, gender confusion that is now told that needs to be conformed to, right? Affirmed. We have to affirm the confusion. We have to affirm the mental illness. We used to lock lunatics up in this country. And I've told the story a million times. My father worked in a psychiatric hospital his whole life, almost 30 years. My grandmother worked in the same psychiatric hospital even before him, because we had it in our town. And then they started shutting it down. And I remember asking my dad, I said, Dad, what are they going to do with all the lunatics? What are they going to do with all the crazy people that used to be separated from society? And he looked at me and said, son, they're going to graduate. I said, graduate? What does that mean? They just get let loose. They get let back out, and you see what happens. So, people say, oh, that's Ronald Reagan's fault, or that's Jimmy Carter. I don't care, all right? And Hollywood and Jack Nicholson and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, don't care. Lock them up. Get them away from my kids. Get them out of here. I don't want to see them on the street. It's really as simple as that. I don't want to have to worry about a transgender mass shooter targeting my children in Catholic school. It's as simple as that. And anyone who has children should be able to be afforded the same in the greatest country on God's green earth.
That's absolutely the way to put it. I'm reminded of another father from recent history, a gentleman named Francisco Franco, tomorrow being Franco Friday. He said of the socialist, communist militias that were going about attacking Catholic churches and Catholic worshipers, nuns, priests, and monks, he said, wherever I am, there will be no communism. Now, I think in our modern age, we might translate that to wherever Jack Posobiec is, there will be no gay race communism with our cultural Marxism situation. That said, that sort of resolve, that fatherly resolve, that when dad shows up, when dad comes home, what does dad say when he sees shenanigans? He says, no, we're not doing that. You don't reason and, okay, well, about personal liberties and civil liberties and freedom. Nope. As you said, stop. No, we're not doing that.
Joshua,
and so
we're almost out of time, but I gotta ask real quick, over your shoulder, is that speaking of symbols, by the way, is there a certain symbol that's over your shoulder right now behind you?
Let's see, looking a little closer, that looks like it's Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, as a matter of fact. Huh, what do you know?
He's got the Cracker Barrel. Folks, it's the fight over symbols. That's what this is all about. Symbols have power. Prayer has power. So make sure you go and you support and defend those symbols. You support and defend the symbols of our people. Go follow Joshua Lisec. By the way, give him a follow. He's always putting out fantastic books, sometimes with me. But remember, folks, and I'm just going to leave it at this. Prayer has power. Satan hates prayers. Demons are in pain when you pray. So pray unceasingly.